welcome everyone to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by the world's greatest co-host,
Arif Bacchus.
and we got another special guest for you folks. Someone who is actually combining all of our interests in things on Microsoft, software, hardware, cool tech, future tech, all that kind of stuff. And we'll let everyone kind of get a feel for you. You can introduce yourself, however you would like to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kareem. Thanks, Arif. Oh my gosh. Wow, I'm totally jittery. I've never actually talked about this stuff live before, but my name is Max Manassa. I go by Max, and on the internet, I kind of go by Metaverse Max, but that's up in the air. And I manage the HoloLens 2 TikTok account. But wait, not the HoloLens 2 TikTok account. A TikTok account called HoloLens 2. I'm not associated with Microsoft right now.
No, I mean I think at this moment you're doing more marketing on TikTok than Microsoft is for HoloLens. I would expect.
Yeah, well, they want to sell it to businesses, and I want normal people to have holograms.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this is going to be kind of a running theme throughout our interviews, throughout our time with you, is that we're going to try and see if we can discern, is there a thread between consumer and commercial, or should there be like a spin-off? Should there just be two separate versions of the same thing? Kind of, the same way that most enterprise things happen. Someone will make an enterprise version, and people are like, well, I want to use it at home, and then make a consumer version. Or could the HoloLens just be the one device that people are like, all right, packing it up from work, and I'm going to go back home and hop on some games or whatever. But I'll let Eric start off with the interview, get everyone going.
So the reason how I found Max to begin with is the fact that he is on TikTok, and he had a TikTok that went viral of him whipping out his HoloLens. I don't know if he could do it right now for us, but
oh my God, I can keep this on me 24/7. Don't leave the house without it.
he whipped out his HoloLens headset while he was sitting in his lecture in college, a lecture hall, and he put it on and he used it as his main computer during an actual lecture. So that's what caused him to go viral. But I don't know if you could speak a little bit more about your TikTok and other things about your TikTok if people don't necessarily know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a HoloLens 2. Microsoft makes it and mostly sells it to businesses. And I bought one when I got super lucky with money. Wow, oh my gosh, I'm totally unloading stuff. But anyways, I saw that HoloLens 2 wasn't a username taken on TikTok, and so I claimed it. And I was thinking, how can I make some videos to show the world what a HoloLens 2 is? And so I checked with my professor, and I was like, hey, could I bring my headset to class and use it? I won't record too much, so I won't go against the school policy, but I brought the HoloLens 2 in, and I sat in the front of the class, connected it to Wi-Fi, and I brought up the holographic web page. And the TikTok is 13 seconds long. It shows a pan of me wearing this headset, typing on a wireless keyboard. And then it shows my point of view where I'm looking at a holographic Edge browser, and I'm typing away on an online compiler because the class was for Intro to C++.
How appropriate.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to go into our next question, which is, was your first video the video that kind of get people's attention, or did you have 6 or 7 in the can? People are like, oh, this is interesting.
So I didn't really go viral until I did well on TikTok, so to speak. I initially showed some recordings of point of view using the HoloLens, playing with holograms, crazy stuff that in person, but through TikTok it doesn't come out as well, and people are like, oh, that's normal AR, or that's some VR, and there's no shortage of VR on TikTok.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, well, especially, it's weird because TikTok has its own AR system where you can kind of project your own augmented reality things on there. So people are probably like, oh, he's just using one of their things before they even associate oh, he has an actual headset and he's got a whole recording system set up to record himself, record what he's seeing, stuff like that, versus just oh, look, he put a hippo in his field of view on his phone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
going into the next question, why did you buy a HoloLens 2 and how did you buy it? Did you just pick it up used on eBay or buy it from a Microsoft employee or something? How did you come across your HoloLens 2?
Okay, so this is actually a really funny story. It's actually hilarious. So back in August of 2020, when I was a sophomore in college, I started an investing account because everyone was getting into mobile online investing like Robinhood and Webull, and I got a Robinhood account and I put like $1,000 in, and got it up to like $2,000-3,000 over the span of 3 or 4 months. And then in December, it was Christmas time, and gave my brother $100 to open his own investing account, and he didn't know what to put it in, and so he asked me. I'm like, well, Dogecoin is less than a cent. If you put the whole $100 in and it blows up, you make a ton of money. If you put $100 in anything else, like it's gonna stay around $100.
Mhm.
And so we put it into Dogecoin, and a day or two passed, and I'm thinking, if it blows up, he'll make a ton of money, and I won't make any money. So I'm going to keep an eye on Dogecoin, and if it breaks a cent, I'm going to put in $1,000. And if it tanks, I won't tell my brother. But if it blows up, I'll definitely tell my brother and be like, "Hey, made 10 times as much, whatever." Brother rivalry. And so over the next like 4 or 5 months, I saw Dogecoin break a cent. Well, actually, in like right after I think that, the next day it breaks 1 cent, and I put $1,000 in, and I just leave it there. And over the course of the next few months, Dogecoin goes from 1 cent to 76 cents, and I sell out like right at the top. I made like $30,000, way more money than I'd ever seen in my lifetime. Like my parents didn't give me allowances and be like, "Oh, here's your money for the week," or like, no, it's like, you need something, you can ask, but we're not going to just give you money. So getting $30,000 really changed my life. And so I was taking my girlfriend out on nice dates and all stuff like that. But at the same time, I was looking at VR and seeing how VR was becoming like practical. People kind of wanted VR now. And I wanted VR now too. And I was on YouTube watching all these videos about like new tech. And I discovered the HoloLens throughout this period. And it was the coolest thing ever. You could see holograms with it. The whole computer, Windows computer, and it's all holograms. And it's a real thing. And it was almost $4,000. And so, can't even imagine getting one because it's just priced too much. But then suddenly $30,000 from Dogecoin. And I'm like, wow, you know, this headset, like, I probably won't ever meet someone who has one of these. And I could buy one right now. Like I could also buy a car, or I could buy land. I could reinvest all of it, make more money. And I bought a HoloLens too, because that's what really interested me. And I bought it right off of Microsoft's website. I bought a development version that came with like $500 as your like credits. And so if I wanted to develop it, I could. And so I bought a HoloLens, and it came in May 2021. And I started messing around with it, getting to know it. I
That's
hope that
awesome.
answered the question. It is so rare that I get to talk to people that are actually interested in
Yeah.
the HoloLens 2 in person, because most are like, I couldn't afford it, why do I even care? Or but it's holograms. It's real holograms.
Well,
Like
that's actually get to my next question. We've been following HoloLens for forever, and Windows holographic and whatnot since its induction. I think what your TikTok, at least for me personally, has really done is kind of show people, because I see you at like the library, you're out, having coffee, things like that, and you're using it. And I remember, all of the demos when they showed HoloLens were very like curated, very like in a lab. At most, they'd have like a faux office area, and people were like, if those are the only places you're going to associate it with, which again I understand, it's enterprise or whatnot. There's no way consumers are going to be interested in it. But as you were showing, like you're at your house, you're like you said, you're out studying, you're in class. Like these are the reasons consumers would want to engage with holograms and things like that. And I don't think a lot of places show that. I think the last one to try and do that was Google. What was the Google AR,
Yeah,
Google
Google
Glass or whatever?
Glass. Yeah.
yeah,
Was the
people,
last trying to do that. So I really appreciate your TikTok and all of those things, because again, it's just let people know, like, hey, it's not a weird thing to just keep in your house and be kind of weird about it. It's no, it's just practical.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and
I I love showing off the HoloLens too because I don't really have any programming background. I like the class I took last semester was Intro to C++. I didn't even really do well in that class. But I have this headset that's mostly made for developers, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do with it that is entertaining and interesting. And it's all interesting because it's all holograms, and I've never had any experience with holograms. And none of my family members or friends, or anyone I know, no one at like my school in my city has had experience with holograms. But this headset's been out for 3 years, so
yeah.
what's the deal?
Well, and I think that the question I was going to ask is, what do you use it for mostly these days?
Mostly these days, I use it as like an enthusiast and as a content creator. I'm like, how can I show off new element of the HoloLens to the world? But when I'm just like messing around with it for fun, I go on like the Edge browsers because the HoloLens really only offers one type of browser, and that's Microsoft Edge. But I can open up like 5 browsers at a time, and I can watch YouTube and be on like my Gmail, and I'm just like moving it around in the air and stuff, and it stays there. I walk away, come back. I've used it to cook before. I had the instructions up as I was like doing it.
That's
I
awesome.
could have had my phone for that, but it's like a lot of the things, it's not totally practical yet for consumers. But
No, totally. I totally agree. But I do like seeing you explore because, like I said, I think I saw one with you and your buddy at the gym. Was a good one. I would recommend people go check that one out. That was pretty cool. And like you said, being able to cook was another interesting one. I don't know if you have a video for that one that I missed, but just the idea, I think is also in line with. I think they had a demo where someone was like fixing a pipe or something like that, and like plumbing or whatever. But I'm like, not almost the plumbers, but I'd say majority of us do cook or have people that we know who cook. If food is involved in 100% of everyone's activities at some point during the day, and that's another thing I think they should try and do, as far as again, if they're going to try and make a consumer version of this or get consumers interested, because with consumers comes a wide range of app availability and like app inclusion. Like you give it to developers in a specialized field, they're going to give you a specialized app, and that's not what most users are going to want. So if you give it to someone like yourself, or if they lower the price and they can say like, hey, I tried it for cooking, can I get what is it, All Foods, I think is an app or something like that. If I can get a version of that on the HoloLens, it'd be amazing. And there's a developer out there that's like, all right, I'll throw that on the HoloLens. There you go.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Besides just using Edge browser, the Edge app on the HoloLens too, there's also TikTok. So TikTok itself is on HoloLens too. So I can browse TikTok on the HoloLens too. But those are just like
PWAs. They're just like web apps.
Yeah. So the most interesting apps on the HoloLens 2 are the ones that are made for the HoloLens 2. And they have the best apps right now are the ones that Microsoft has curated and made for the HoloLens 2. So there's apps like Graffiti 3D that let you like draw 3-dimensional objects in space, like leave the room, leave the building, and come back, and it's still there. You can. It's really hard to put into words, but there's also an app called Galaxy Explorer that lets you explore the galaxy. It lets you explore the solar system, each planet, and it's physically in front of you. And then there's some shooting games where there's like robots crawling out of the sides of your wall. If you watch HoloLens 2 YouTube videos, you have definitely heard all of the apps I've said, because these are the apps that are shared on YouTube. The third-party apps and the third-party developer apps are the really interesting ones because there's not a ton of information on that online. The third-party business apps, even if you have a HoloLens 2, the majority of which you can't use unless you have an account signed up with that business. And what I think that's for is because HoloLens 2 employs a Azure like remote rendering, which the headset itself cannot do it. So you need some cloud like computing to do stuff, which is why an account is needed with these business apps to use them.
Oh no, and like you said, I part of it is they're dumping a ton of R&D into this, so it's expensive, and they're probably not going to recoup nearly as much, but you think at the start they want to get like 2/3 of it back. So they're giving to developer or commercial developers who can spend a ton of money to kind of give them money to reinvest into this to make a third version, or and eventually trickle down to us. What I was thinking was that, like you said, for the apps that are made for it, I think that's just like for any platform, like the Duo is amazing when it has an app that spans across both screens or things like that. So that's what I'm waiting for HoloLens to kind of like I said, get into more mainstream apps, because again, mainstream apps can still be used in business. Doesn't mean that you need to like have a specialized warehouse app that like, allows you to see all your inventory. And that's the only thing that the HoloLens can do. There are other things. I think the other thing that Microsoft should probably do is lower the barrier to entry, because I know they have I think it's called what is Cloud Anchors, I believe it is, and they're all based off of using Azure, and I think they're in conjunction with like Google. They're all like sharing this project, so that, like you said, for all your graffiti stuff, when you leave it in the world, it just stays there, and that's something that developers probably should have access to, so they can like make their apps way more interactive.
I totally agree. In regards to the cloud anchors, before there were cloud anchors, there was spectator view, and they've changed their system since then. But HoloLens used to have a feature called spectator view, which means you could have your phone and have it connected to the headset in a way,
Right.
so that you can see someone wearing a HoloLens interacting with the holograms.
That's cool.
As a content creator, as a TikTok person, if I could have spectator view, I could show what it looks like from like a third perspective using the holograms. I guess a second perspective, because right now I only have one perspective to share interacting with holograms. Yeah, but Microsoft has decided to move away from that. I am furious, quietly.
Eric, you have another question? I feel like I'm hogging all the time. You're very,
No.
very quiet.
I was like, the first time I had a HoloLens experience was at a HoloLens 2 event, like before they revealed it to the public. They had a private press event, and I was invited, and they put the thing on my head for the first time, and I was like instantly blown away of like how using my hands to control objects and putting them everywhere and leaving the room and coming back and having them there. So how did you feel the first time that you used the HoloLens 2? And if someone were like you and they were able to come across, I don't know, $3,500, do you suggest them to go out and buy a HoloLens 2 if they can?
Bottom line, no, don't buy a HoloLens 2. Wait 2 years. Something better than this is coming. And there's some things that could compete with this, although not beat the HoloLens 2, in my opinion. There's things close to the HoloLens 2 now. Wait on it. Save your money, especially right now, because the economy. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah,
And
that's smart.
very smart. For someone who's taken up the moniker of the metaverse, have you used Meta's AR headset, or have you used any other AR or VR mixed reality headsets?
Yeah. So around the time I started investing, I was also like learning about VR headsets and what's on the market. So I was scouring YouTube and all different like chat rooms and forums to see what's up. And so I picked up an Oculus Go back when I was first getting some money from investing, and that was really interesting, and that made me excited for what was coming. And then I got an Oculus Quest 2 the day it came out off of then Facebook's website. And so I got an Oculus Quest 2, not a Meta Quest 2, and using a VR headset for the first time, which was like well before I got a HoloLens 2. Using a VR headset for the first time was a totally new experience. It was eye-opening and life-changing. And I compared the HoloLens to the mixed reality headset, augmented reality, using it in this form factor, which is also like that VR headset first-time experience, where it's kind of like, wow, this is mind-blowing. I've only imagined stuff like this up until this point.
Good. I've been keeping up with, I don't know if you have either, But I'm keeping up with Microsoft's progress with the military. They have a contract with the Army and things like that. And I haven't, other than like testing it at the store. And like I said, you have been out and about in like, everyday life and things like that, walking around with it, stuff like that. I was in a very controlled environment. Do you think that they'll be able to keep up with any type of requirements as far as like, I don't know, reinforcing the device and making it practical for the Army? Just in your everyday use, how fragile is it outside your office or whatnot?
Well, I understand that the military's version, their IVAs, their integrated visual augmentation systems,
Mm-hmm.
like 120,000 over the next 120,000 headsets over the next 10 years for $20
Right.
billion deal. A HoloLens 2 development edition, it's not meant for everyday use as it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Bring it into combat. I'd imagine it would do even less than that, and it'd probably hinder some hinder activity.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know the history of like technology, but we usually militarize things first and then bring them to shore and make them more commercialized.
That's how
for
the internet
consumers.
was invented. So, like,
Exactly.
who's to say that that's not why the next they're probably testing like HoloLens 4 with the military and not telling us, and then it'll end up being a consumer HoloLens. Who knows?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, same way with ThinkPad. They have their military spec about resistant to dust, water, sand, things like that, and then we get it when we get a ThinkPad or whatnot because of all that testing. I'm interested to see like if we get some of that backporting, even though it's going in reverse than it normally does.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in Microsoft's HoloLens business because of their 10-year deal with the military. And the IVAs already, if you see pictures of them online, they look a lot more sophisticated than HoloLens 2. And yeah, the military has gone this first, but it brings up an interesting question that I haven't seen online or anywhere. But now that mixed reality, augmented reality, extended reality tech is being used in the military, like connecting with rifles so that you can point your rifle this way and see where it's pointing, looking straight ahead, that seems like it's going to lead to a Second Amendment issue, or not issue, but something in relation to the Second Amendment. Because if people are allowed to buy like AR-15s right now, because to combat the military in case there's, then why can't people buy tech like this to combat the military's using it?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll
That's
be
a
an
fair
extension.
point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I think this is what they're trying to get ahead of with. I think I was just writing about this week about a proposal for open standards and the responsible use of the metaverse, things like that. So they're going to not necessarily, I don't think they're going to try and get in front of the hardware. I think it's the software that enables it and then the use cases for that. So maybe I don't know, maybe they'll be able to like limit the connection between a gun and the use of its AR component separately.
Because I'm not trying to be put on a list right now by saying this, but if I was a really, really good programmer, then I don't think it would be impossible to weaponize a HoloLens 2.
Oh no, I mean that's what Microsoft's actively trying to do right now.
And that's why people at Microsoft have gotten upset with the HoloLens team. That's I'm sure you're familiar with what happened with Alex Kipman and him leaving, and the report about how HoloLens 3 could be dead or HoloLens is dead because the team is fighting with each other. That's the kind of stuff that's upsetting people who are working on the technology inside at Microsoft.
It is so fragmented on multiple facets. There's fragmentation in Microsoft, but I think that's because this is so revolutionary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of major implications that come with this brand new, exciting technology, and it's not totally brand new, but still brand new.
What are your thoughts on the separation now that Kipman is on his way out? I don't think he's actually gone. I think he's going to help transition it, regardless of like any of the stuff that's been said about him. But separating the software and the hardware. I don't know if you're a Surface user or fan or anything like that, but giving panels the ability to kind of craft the hardware and letting the team slash collaboration unit in Microsoft do the software. Do you think that's going to help them make it make a device faster?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being broken down into hardware and software, and with Panos Panay, I believe.
Yep.
I I read somewhere that they're going to be working with Samsung. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
That the hardware is going to be move into Samsung direction, and the software is going to maybe be, I don't know, focused on more.
Yeah, my tinfoil hat is that Microsoft will let Panos make, just like, I don't know if you know about the Surface Hub, he will make another $3,000-$4,000 developer device that's really nice and crafted like a Surface device. And Samsung's going to make the Galaxy, version of that for consumers using Windows holographic as its base. That's where I'm speculating.
I like that speculation. I like the outcome of that speculation, especially if Samsung were to make a mixed reality device, I would be all over that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how does HoloLens differ from Windows Mixed Reality? I know that the start menu, like you could use your hands to open the start menu, but long ago, this was pre-Windows 11 days. They still have it, but it's not marketed as much. It's called Windows Mixed Reality, where you have to tether yourself to the computer to deal with virtual reality and augmented reality. How is HoloLens 2 different from that?
So HoloLens 2 is also a Windows mixed reality device, but it's different.
Yeah.
I know that's not very good answer. I am not an expert on the subject. I am just an enthusiast, and I haven't actually used a virtual reality Windows mixed reality device. But so I'm not entirely sure what the difference is. I know that one difference is that holograms in normal space. This is why I come well with the consumer perspective, because I keep things very simple.
I think we were talking about apps and HoloLens apps, so that kind of rolls over to the next question. We were having a chat before the podcast started and we were waiting to film, but how do you plan to develop a HoloLens app? You mentioned that you had some coding knowledge, but do you think you have what it takes to make your own app? You put out a video asking for people's help if they know to develop for augmented reality. So are you working on something?
Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm working with what's the right way to say? A software development group based out of Tallahassee called Arcvale. I'm working with them to make a virtual pet app for the HoloLens, and it's something really simple. Main goal of that is just to get it onto the Microsoft HoloLens 2 store, which is different than the normal Microsoft store. But yeah, major goal is to just get that onto the Microsoft store and get it published.
I was, again, I don't know if this is an idea that you're going into or you're going to expand into, but here's a free idea. And if you make some money, just remember my name later on. But I know that I have kids and they were watching the movie Turning Red. And you can bring back the Tamagotchi, virtual pet aspect. And that was super popular, early 90s, whatever. Bring it back in your HoloLens version. So every time someone puts the headset on, they're back to, taking care of that virtual pet. I don't know if that's where you're going with it, but I know that if you hooked up with Disney, there's lots of money to be made on that aspect.
There's already an app like that on the HoloLens store, and it's I don't remember the name exactly, but it might be Holo Monster, and it was made by a Japanese developer. And it's very interesting. It's got a Pokemon, Digimon type holographic creature, and you can feed it. You can pick it up. It has really good physics, and you can even throw a ball across the room and have that monster play with it. And
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
The group I'm working with, Arcvale, we're not trying to recreate that app. We're trying to make our own separate app that actually they had made for Samsung Gear a few years ago. They're just working to get it transferred onto the HoloLens 2 device.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm sure my terminology there is not great, but the meaning's correct. We are transferring an idea to the HoloLens 2.
You mentioned that you got this during, was it last year?
Yeah, I
got it.
Of 2021. I'm mistaken. May
Okay.
2021.
So, I mean, it was still sort of during the pandemic, and this is where I was going with this. Is that I think when we first started our podcast, one of my like talking points was about uh, people using the HoloLens to augment their own working spaces, especially if you weren't able to buy a house, you weren't able to like expand where you're at. Say you're single or you're a small family and you don't have a lot of extra room, but you need an office, a work office. And I've seen you out with your Bluetooth keyboard, things like that. Were there any use cases for the HoloLens that would have, perhaps made the pandemic a little easier for people? Again, making their own office in their own house where you don't need necessarily physical space, but you just need maybe a wall that you can bounce uh, images off of, or maybe even having a virtual pet because you couldn't go buy a real pet for whatever reason. Did you find anything like that happening?
Oh yeah. Most of the time I was playing around with it throughout the pandemic to see like what could I use this for? What could someone use this for? Um, and the cool thing about the Edge browser on the HoloLens 2 is that you can open up like 5 web pages all in front of you, like wherever you are. Like you could be on the subway doing it. And there's videos online of a Japanese developer. His YouTube is Holomoto, and he posts HoloLens 2 videos all the time, showing off things he makes and things like that. But for like a work office setting, you could open up a bunch of programs. You could put virtual furniture in your room if you'd like, just to make it a little bit more cozy. Say you just moved into a new place and you want to personalize it, you could definitely do that with the HoloLens too.
Yeah, I know it's always seems dystopian where like they show like the guy that's got a VR headset on, he's got nothing else in his place. I don't want people to get to that notion, but it is kind of cool. Like again, if say you can't afford at the moment a 60-inch TV, I've seen you widen your browsing, your view, for the field of view that you have to make it almost full screen to like watch stuff, to view things through the browser, YouTube, things like that. It's again, I know 2 years, 3 years ago, my TV broke right before the Super Bowl. This would have been a great like fill in for that day without me having to run out and buy on the spot another like $600 TV or something like that. So these are the kind of things I think again that I'm so appreciative of your channel for, is just showing the practicality of that aspect. It may not be a $200 consumer device that is going to change your life instantly, but it is something that can be used if marketed and developed that way for very common consumer goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as it stands right now, the headset is good enough to bring up YouTube videos or movies, but the frame rate won't exceed 60 frames per second.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so that's why they're really pushing it as for business uses, because the technology in the HoloLens 2 is not made for consumer use. But it's fun to see, like, to bring it up to that point, to be like, "Hey, I am a consumer. Let me try and watch a YouTube video or watch a movie on it." And it can far exceed 60 inches. It could take up a whole wall.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I think that brings us through most of what we have to ask you. So now the floor is open for you to speak about anything you want to add or anything you want to promote.
Oh yeah. Oh, so I guess that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm mostly on TikTok because I'm a college student focused on getting my degree right now, and I'm kind of broke too. Even though this headset was like almost $4,000, like I am pretty broke right now. Um, so I can be found on Instagram and Twitter as Metaverse Max, um, and I'm on YouTube too. But really, I only post on TikTok. All the other accounts I don't post on because I'm a college student trying to enjoy the last bit of college before real world, whatever. It's honestly, it is tough being the face of a HoloLens 2 account on any platform, because I'm just in such a unique situation. I feel like for like the past year I felt like the luckiest person alive, because here I have this technology that really no one can get their hands on. And I'm like, and I have it. And I also have the HoloLens 2 TikTok, and by chance. It's all been by chance that I've gone here. And Like, I just want to show what it can do to people. Like, not do to people, but I want to show what it can be done for people. Wow. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm
if
still
if
losing my mind over it.
if by chance some developers or some engineers within Microsoft are watching this, what would you say as far as like what would you like to see? First off, if you would like to see them make another version, because from what we can tell, there isn't a planned version 3. We speculated that maybe Samsung is going to make a more consumer version, but that's all speculation. What would you like to see from a third version, both hardware and software wise?
Honestly, that's tough because there's a lot of things I would like to change about this, but I don't. My technical background is very limited. What I'd like to see for the HoloLens 2 is right now there's cameras on the inside of this headset that scan your eyes, and they work by taking the black pupil in your eye and seeing where it moves in relation to the rest of your eye. And some people have said when they've tried this on that it kind of not hurts their eyes, but their eyes feel not exhausted, but
Strained.
strained, a little strained. And I don't really have that, maybe because I have so much enthusiasm for the HoloLens 2, or because I like to say I have good vision. But maybe making that slightly less invasive.
Yeah.
What a lot of mixed reality glasses and augmented reality glasses that are available for consumer use right now do is they make it able to connect to the phone either directly or through a power bank and wireless adapter. And I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft adopted that strategy and made it better. I really wouldn't be surprised. If any Microsoft employees are listening to this, know that I want to talk to you. Please let me talk to you. I really want the HoloLens 2 TikTok account to be official, because if I had Microsoft's guidance to make TikToks, I could really do my mission and goals that I have, which is share holograms with people. This technology exists. Holographic computing, it is mind-blowing, and having it every day to try it out and see its limitations because it's not meant for consumer use. I want everyone to have that experience. I want people to try it. I want people to mess around with it. I want it to be more mainstream. And I am so excited, kind of like a chicken with its head cut off. I would love to talk to any Microsoft employee, and I will continue to message them on LinkedIn until they respond.
Yeah, no, I think you're in good straits. I would also suggest Twitter. They seem to be a quicker response on Twitter, just for whatever reason. I'm still chasing after Satya Nadella, but if you find anybody lower than him, I'm sure they'll respond. And the last thing I wanted to say was, and I think you brought it up pretty cool, and it just got my gears going, was that you said there'd be a link to the phone. And, as soon as you said that, I was like, but they don't have a Windows mobile operating system, so how do they link it? But they do have phone link. And I'm wondering if this is that part of the Samsung partnership
Right. Yeah.
that will let you mirror the Windows holographic through the phone link onto your AR headset, so that you can have that connection between your phone, a Samsung phone or whatever, and your Windows headset, and it not be this whole weirdness between Android and Windows. It's just, hey, it's mirroring Windows from my PC onto my phone. Who knows?
We'll find out. We will
Yeah.
find out. However many years it takes, we will find out. And
Exactly.
it'll be here. One of the biggest challenges I have right now to make good HoloLens 2 content and to develop for the HoloLens 2 is the lack, or the disorganized resources online, because the majority of resources on HoloLens 2, beyond YouTube, is GitHub and Microsoft Docs. That's the resources for developing on the HoloLens 2, and those change, and there's additions to that every other week, and pages completely disappear sometimes, like the spectator view page, 404 not found. I'm upset about that still. That was months ago, but
welcome to the world of Microsoft. That happens in every product line.
Yep, pretty much.
I get that. I'm not angry at Microsoft or Microsoft employees. I just want to talk. Just want to have a conversation. Just want to tell them I'm managing a HoloLens 2 TikTok account. It's got like 80,000 something followers and counting. People are interested in the HoloLens 2. Dear Microsoft, please let me help you. Please help me help you type thing. Or I don't know. I know that Microsoft, I know that I actually have connected on Twitter with the Microsoft mixed reality dev field team. And they've shared with me that they're not totally allowed to give me guidance on this. And I asked them if I could talk to the people in charge of that allowance. And so I'm still waiting to hear back from them. But what they did tell me is that HoloLens 2 is a trademark name. And that's what so if they wanted to, they could stop what I'm doing. And so like how I think about it is like if Microsoft doesn't want the HoloLens 2 TikTok account to be managed by me anymore, I'll change the username. If they try to sue me over it, even if their case is bogus, they have the law power, and just they are so powerful as an organization that their lawyers would overwhelm me, even if I was right. I wouldn't be able to pay the fees to even argue against them. So before that happens, I would change the username. But I really don't want to change the username. I really don't want HoloLens 2 to go silent. I want people to know everything there is to know about this. And if I have to scour the internet to collect all the information and organize myself, which is harder than scouring the internet.
Maybe just add an underscore between a HoloLens and 2, or some weird character to set it apart from whatever Microsoft wants.
Yeah, I could do that, but then they could claim the HoloLens 2 username and not do anything with it.
True.
Yeah,
true.
That's what he's trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had a CEO on LinkedIn ask me if I was open to consultation, like if I could be a consultant, and I'm like, I don't even know how to program. I don't even know any of this stuff. For anyone who's curious to know, what it takes to develop on the HoloLens 2 is an understanding of Unity, an understanding of C++, C#, and an understanding of Visual Studio. If those three things combined, you can make projects for the HoloLens 2. And if you do want to make a project and you want 80,000 plus people to see it, let me know. I will share your project all over the TikTok.
And we will do our best to get more people to visit your TikTok, because like I said, I definitely appreciate someone finally like taking it out of the office and doing things with it that I would do with it.
I really appreciate y'all bringing me on the podcast today, and I'd like to apologize for being so shaky and crazy about this. But this is the first time people have ever asked me the questions that like I've been every day. All of my friends, all of my family members, I cannot shut up about HoloLens 2 to them. I talk to them about the TikTok account, about Microsoft, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, Max. Yeah, thanks, great, man." And now it's like, okay, Max, now's the time to actually share it. And I'm like, oh, there's so much to share. So
it happens to the best of us. That's what happens when you're so enthusiastic about something.
Yeah, true that. I am really passionate about the HoloLens 2.
Yeah, and hopefully this won't be the last time. Like you said, we expect big things from your channel. We expect big things from Microsoft, and so we expect to revisit this, in the future.
Thanks. I will. If I go silent, just know the worst has happened.
All right.
We'll
Thanks
look,
so
we'll
much,
look for you
Max.
in the metaverse.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Max.
Take care.